All right, so there we go. YouTubians out there. This is actually the second time I'm recording this video, unfortunately. So I have to repeat everything I said the first time in a 53-minute video because the file decided to corrupt. But here we are. There's no reason to really complain, I guess. It happened. We are here. I'm gonna let this trailer rock. As you can see, I should say what we're doing. I'm sorry, I'm just scatterbrained. We're gonna be breaking down the Siegfried trailer here. That came out now 3 hours ago when I first watched it, like 44 minutes at that point. I'm gonna let it play through one time so y'all can really get a feel for it yourself. I didn't even listen to the music the first time through. I should do that. I didn't think about that. Some ripping guitar. It fits the character. So little lore tidbits on Siegfried for those who don't know the mobage like that while this is playing. So the deal with Siegfried, he's one of the 4 Dragon Knights. That being Percy, Lancelot here, Bane, and Siegfried himself. The deal with Siegfried is he's a dragon slayer, in case the name Siegfried does not imply that, as the mythologies have. But the specific deal with him is that he was a part of a squad specifically meant to suppress Fafnir, if I recall correctly, like my Siegfried lore. But due to a betrayal by someone in their said squad, I can't remember the name of the person. It begins with an H though. He had to basically sacrifice his life to save everyone and drink the blood of the dragon to do it. So the kind of deal, like if you look at his SSBA here, right? That's the blood of the dragon. His lore is he is slowly turning into a dragon because of that. Which is why there's all these kind of like barbaric effects and stuff going on. It's representative of that transformation. So yeah, that was the trailer. I know I talked over it because I'm a child, but I have watched it multiple times now. But we're going to pull this up as I did in the original video. So here we have an update on the online beta release schedule, as you can see. Attention Skyfarers, our team has worked through many of the stability issues that forced us to delay the Granblue Fantasy vs. Rising online beta. We are now preparing the beta client for launch. The new release date is scheduled for mid-July. We realize that's nearly 2 months later than originally planned, and you have our sincerest apologies. As for the release of the game itself, we're still on track to meet our initial target. Concrete dates will be announced after beta testing concludes. Yeah, so we don't have a date outside of supposedly this year for the game, for those unfamiliar with it. For that matter, it's kind of the same with the other Granblue project that has been being actually worked on for the past 7 years or something, that being Relink, that is scheduled for later this year, winter this year, if that window stays the same. I hope so. The game looks great. But let's continue. Last but not least, as promised in the new Siegfried trailer dropped today, the 3rd addition to the GBVSR, I keep forgetting to throw the R in there, roster will be revealed in early July. That announcement will be followed by a spate of others detailing new mechanics, game modes, and more. Be sure to stay tuned. From creative director Tetsuya Fukuhara. So, yeah, as for the 3rd character, obviously we don't have a clue who it is. If you want my predictions, I'll throw them here. I had them actually at the end of the other video, but I can throw them here and chapter it out. I don't know. I was guessing an evoker at some point, probably near. If they wanted to pick the 2nd most popular, that way they could sell near with the season pass, you'd get Frau. They might tease Lucilius, because I do think we're going to get a playable Lucilius, as the only real way we're ever going to get Lucilius playable is through this type of game. This was kind of the same with Belial. I think this is one of the only proper ways they can make those characters playable, and they're very popular characters, especially in the case of Belial. Sandalphon would be the obvious one, but I genuinely don't think, I've said this repeatedly. I don't think Sandalphon is going to be launch roster. I obviously don't know for sure. But Sandalphon is very much so what I refer to as a season pass seller. He is one of the most popular characters in all of Granblue, the same way Belial was. The same way Vikala is not, and they chose Anila over Vikala, even though Vikala is the more popular of the Zodiac generals. So that tells me that Vikala would probably be later down the line in the form of DLC, because that's very easy money for them. Or my last prediction would be a 6th dragon. If it's popular, Galleon or Wilness. If it's a freak pick, maybe like Fediel or something. I don't see Luo or Wamu as cool as Wamu would be. And Ewier's a cat, so I don't know what you want out of me. So let me get over here. Let's get the tunes popping again for the 2nd time today. Let me slap shuffle chat. Act like I'm streaming. I gotta come in here and just make sure we set all this up for the prime time. Way too long breakdown. The 2nd time through. We don't need to see this. So I guess I can trim this down a bit by what I figured out watching it through the 1st time. Also, let me just say, the character visually looks awesome. He looks very good in terms of him translating over into this product, we'll say. Like, even his character select art here looks great. It's really cool seeing, like, because his design is, I don't know for sure about these. I'm just assuming by following Granblue and the team and knowing who they are and the types of games they probably played. The obvious one is a Dark Knight from Final Fantasy, because his kit in the Mobage very much so operates like that. But also, like Artorias in Dark Souls. Very reminiscent, especially in things we'll see later in this video. As well as another obvious one in the form of Guts, which Dark Souls is directly inspired by Berserk. So it can be both of those as well, like both Dark Souls and or Berserk. But either way, right out the gate, this is actually something I should have looked at in the last video, was this is something I was trying to figure out. I was trying to figure out if this was a dashing normal or not. I couldn't piece it together because, like, I originally thought this was far heavy, right? Because it has the weight of a far heavy, but later it looks like he dashes into it, and the ranges at which this button is happening would imply a dashing normal, because it's happening at points in this video at ranges where I would think you'd be getting a close proximity normal. Or they're actually adding a way to no longer have just proximity normals, but a command normal to alternate between close and far, which I would personally adore. I like that system so much more than proximity normals in most games. KOF is one of the few words I like proximity normals. But yeah, just a big chunky move. I pieced together that this is going to be one of his specials. Obviously, I don't know the input. If I ballpark by the way it looks, I couldn't even tell you. It could be like a backwards TP motion, like a 4-2-1, because he has another thing that I think would be the quarter circle back. But either way, this is realistically special. As to whether it's an overhead, we aren't sure. As you saw, soft knockdown there, because he rolled up instantly, Vaz. This is a thing, though. This here, I don't remember where I read it, but I read somewhere that this operates like a Percy mechanic, where it's his 5 view and it gives him stocks at the cost of his health. Because again, he's very inspired by Final Fantasy, Dark Knights, and stuff like that. Because for those that don't know, in case the name Granblue Fantasy doesn't illustrate it, it's a bunch of fans of Final Fantasy, or people who actually worked on older Final Fantasies who make Granblue Fantasy. Hence why there's so many through lines. But yeah, from my understanding is you 5U to get stocks. It sacrifices his own health to do it, but with each stock, I think supposedly the moves that it enhances gets more powerful. As to how that enhancement works, that I don't think we know. If it works like Percy, because this character looks like another flavor of Percy in a lot of ways, just with a more barbaric nature to his kit. It would probably be the stocks enhance his M and H moves, so medium and EXs. But this is all me spitballing as we are not sure yet. But as you can see, that's a stock. This is the button I assume is close heavy because of he's in his face, and this just looks so hefty and meaty. Like, look at those hit sparks. There's no doubt in my mind this is a close heavy or something like it. I say it that way because this move also will get used later in a way we'll talk about. That this is DP. It's pretty very clear from the rising motion, and we already knew he was gonna have like a DP and stuff because he is alternate Percy, a new flavor, a little spicier, a little hotter. But yeah, like the rising motion, it's very clearly this is gonna be his DP. I mentioned in the last one that I really like the arc of the sword. It just reminds me of the Genocide Cutter from Regal in King of Fighters, for those who know what I'm talking about, which I adore Genocide Cutter's appearance. I don't think this looks as nice as Genocide Cutter yet, but that is a bias, as I think SNK just has such fantastic looking things in it. But either way, it looks good. It's going to be a DP though, y'all know how DPs work in Granblue unless it drastically changes in Rising. His little sortie. As we see his fireball, judging by what we see in this video at later points, this is probably light fireball because it comes out pretty fast. As you can see, it just cancels Kag's level 1 rock, which means it has clash property for other fireballs on it. So this is one of the ones I was trying to figure out. From what I pieced together, this is either going to be dashing heavy or dashing light. The multi-hit and the nature of it makes me think dashing heavy. But I can't tell. I'm assuming dashing heavy, which goes into the problem about the beginning of the video with that button, the big far-reaching one that looks very barbaric. But that's why another reason I think that maybe there's a way to differentiate between command or proximity normals or not in this version, but we don't know. But given the counter hit state this puts Kag in, as well as the multi-hitting nature, because as you can see, there is a sword swing right here that whiffs in front of her, but the follow-up chunks her because this is a greedy Kag like me. They try to lay a trap after this teleport. For those wondering what that is a greedy Kag like me. I'm a Kag player, I'm not sorry. But yeah, it just looks like maybe a dashing heavy into what I assume is his 2U, which, as you can see, hard knockdown into special cancel into presumably M fireball, which looks like a fantastic Oki scenario for him. On wake up, you're blocking that or you're getting hit into a combo, so it's going to be pressure or combo. It looks like a very forced Oki scenario, which it makes sense because if he wouldn't do this, it would be a situation of like sweep, spot dodge, safe jump. So this is another flavor of set play, very reminiscent of like a Soul Gunflame set play, which is kind of also a thing Percy can somewhat do, but this one just looks more consistent for it off the 2U than what Percy's does. But yeah, ground fireballs, I don't know what to say, they look awesome. SNK, I love them. Kyo's fireball, yours fireball, Terry's fireball, they all look amazing. I adore it. I think it's the run up behind it, as happens with typical long startup fireballs. The thing I was very curious about was this 2U, which I'm assuming is 2U. If you can cancel the first hit of it at all or not. I would assume no, but I'm not sure, obviously. We will find that out in the beta or EVO, whichever is actually happening first. But yeah, Fireball, this Kag, like me, chooses not to block. Takes what I'm assuming to be his dashing M button right here. This big cleave to the chest. Literally just cut her completely in half. Don't know why she's still standing. Here is his fourth special. We've now seen what I assume are all his specials. Fireball, DP, the weird overhead looking slash, and then this, which is a Rekka. So what we pieced together, which we'll talk about as we go through, is that the Rekka has multiple different follow-ups. So from what I pieced together is it's always 1, 2, I think, from what I pieced together, into other things. So like 1, 2, I don't know, that looks different now that I look at it here. We'll discuss it more as we go further. But yeah, this is a Rekka. That's what this is. Not like El Rekka, but it's a Rekka. That, as you see, leads into a big slash, which may or may not be a knockdown. Who knows? We don't get to see it there. We have some clashes. Dash That's the other thing. It's like this is that like dashing normal looking button again, which could even just be far M. It might just be far M. All these buttons could just be far buttons. They're just dash stopping in the buttons, which you can hopefully do, but we don't know. Into that far heavy looking button. He's always angry when he swings, is something we notice. Into that massive, what I assume to be special I mentioned. Moves him forward pretty far too. As you can see, again, the clash frames on Fireball. Presumably close heavy. We have ultimate skill Rekka. That would be them showing off Brave counter, which is the... Over here, we'll take a look. As you can see, it is this game's form of a guard cancel or dead angle, which you can do when in block stun or after being hit by Raging Strike. At least the guard break version. Not too sure of the combo version of it. That one we'll have to see, or they'll show us. Goes right in the stocks. Big air grab call out. I respect it. It's something I've unironically done. The cool part about the Anthuria I noticed that I really like is, although it's obviously different, it brings me back to my Ragna days in Blazblue, because it reminds me of Nightmare Edge from CF. Just the sword just coming straight down in that exact motion with their body. And I love Nightmare Edge. It's such a cool move. Get those counter hit combos. And here's another cool thing. I assume this is his JU because it's an air stall, and I think every air stall in the game is a JU specifically. But a few things to know. One, it's a multi-hit. So it hits here, but then when he crashes down, as you can see, he's big heavy boy. He causes a mini earthquake that also hits. So the real question is this going to be an overhead into a low? Probably not, because I don't think that's how Vaz's JU works, and Vaz has a similar JU. But this is a new version of the game, so all bets are kind of off at this point, to be honest. Animation-wise, I really like the attention to detail of him being a Dragon Slayer, because, like, it's one of the things we picked off is when you think of the iconic way to kill a dragon, the one most people think of, and to reference Dark Souls again, you do this in Dark Souls to some bosses, like the, whatever name the awful dragon bosses in Dark Souls 3, or how you fight the, what is it called, the Asylum Demon? The tutorial boss in Dark Souls 1. It's the same thing. It's like the iconic way a dragon gets slain, right? You come down with the sword like this and plunge through it. It's also the way the big FF7 thing happens. It's like the iconic plunge. It's really cool, and I think it adds a very nice touch with him being a Dragon Slayer. But as you can see, runs up, close M. This is what I mean though. There's Rekka, like 1, 2. And then here's one of the other Rekka follow-ups. 1, 2, command grab. He has a command grab out of Rekka, chat. I have played Melty for quite a while. I got mentally prepared for this from Vlav and Monte Cristo. But I'm still going to get hit by it here. It doesn't matter. I know how this works. The thing I'm most interested in about this grab is you'll notice when he grabs Lance, he puts his sword in Lance and runs with him, right? So I'm curious if this is going to go a set distance or if this is a God press. And by that I mean, for those who aren't familiar with the term, a grab that's taking you to the corner instantly. Like Broly in Dragon Ball FighterZ, Omega Regal has it in King of Fighters, Susanoo in BlazBlue, Waldstein immunity, it's everywhere. God presses are in a lot of things. If he does have a God press, that's going to be very nutty for the nature of Granblue. Which, with all the new mechanics and whatever balance changes they make, we don't even really know what the game's really going to play like yet. So it might fit right in. And that is assuming it is an actual God press. And if you get hit by it, you're just straight in the corner. It could just be a set distance. But at that point, I'm not sure what the point of moving forward with them like that is, outside of, I guess, establishing more presence on the screen and taking more space. But that is just one of those we'll have to wait and see type things. Animation-wise, I do like it, though. Again, I really like how everything in his kit feels kind of guttural and barbaric, which is, it's the point. He's turning into a dragon. He is, yeah, that's it. He's barbaric because of it. Like, the character himself is not actually that edgy of a character. It's just because of that, he's inhuman. So this is an SBA, obviously. The cool part I wanted to point out with this flip is one of the reasons I'm assuming he's heavily inspired by Artorias. Because this, for anyone who's done the Artorias fight in Dark Souls 1, you know the flamboyant sword flips that character or that boss does. And I should pull him up for those who might not be familiar with him. And you'll see the armor and why you can see the visual design as well for Siegfried. So this is Artorias. And he very much so does sword flips in his fight like that. So we'll see. The thing I was curious about is, so couple of things. One, you'll notice that the screen looks like it freezes the whole time while he's going into the air, right? Like Bubs is stuck here. So this just might be a screen freeze until the dive comes out. But my other thing I was genuinely curious about was, in spite of that, what are the chances that there is a hitbox as he's spinning upwards, making this into an effective anti-air super? We've had a few of them, right? Like, Matera is the prime example of a fantastic anti-air super. Her SSBA is great for it. While it's slower, Bazaraga's SSBA is a very decent anti-air super. Depending on situations, other characters like Eustace's, if you're sniping people out of the sky, although that one's not air unblockable from a distance, so on and so forth. But yeah, I'm curious about that. And the unfortunate thing I noticed, and I hope it's just a small thing, but it looks not good. So like, look where Bubs' body goes in the fold here. What that tells me is a couple of things. One, it might just be the video not being in the same frame rate as the game. That's very possible. Could just be jumping a frame or two here. That is how this can happen. But also, two, it tells me, if not that the hitbox on this dive starts extremely high to hit a dude at this point, which is something we noticed watching this, is either hitboxes are much more jank than I remember, or Siegfried just has very big hitboxes, or a combination of them. Obviously, we don't know for sure. That is to be found out at a later date. But all in all, this SBA just looks really sick. It's a Granblue SBA, and by that I mean it's long. If you've played Granblue Fantasy Versus or watched it, you know the supers get very long in that game. Kat is notorious for her SSBA. But either way, here we have like ultimate skills, right? We get to see a bit of Percy's ultimate fireball. We get to see Siegfried's ultimate fireball. As you can see, however many clash frames these moves have with other fireballs, they cancel each other out. So if we make the safe assumption and say it's like 3 or 4 clash frames, maybe even 5, who knows, because it's an ultimate skill. Whatever it is, these two moves are equal. Another thing to point out, though, that is very distinct about Siegfried's Fireball, and it's, again, terrifying about that hitbox standpoint, is even with the M Fireball, it's noticeable here, it was noticeable with the M Fireball, it'll be noticeable with the H Fireball when we see it, is the verticality of this Fireball is very high. This is You can realistically super jump over this, but this is a hefty fireball. And depending on when you super jump it, where Siegfried is at, and what version of the fireball it is, I could easily see people super jumping in the 2Hs. This is the M fireball, especially reminds me of like S in BlazBlue for those who play CF, or if she has it in tag, she probably does, but I don't remember. But I mainly know her from CF. That's where I played her. Her B fireball had a lot of startup, like comparably, but you would throw it and they could run behind it, and it was plus on block if they blocked it. Now, I don't know if it's plus on block in this game outside of the meaty situations, but after the fireball comes out, if you jump, you might be able to be punished, is what I'm saying. So we got a block, we got Command Dash into Greedy, X-Sela, which I noticed, unless I was gaslighting myself, that X-Sela animation looks really crisp now. I don't remember ever having those colors in it before. This, we're assuming, is going to be like his JH or something, which it looks like a cross-up, right, because of this arc, which it wouldn't be the first time a character had a cross-up tool like this. Although a lot of others come in the form of JU, like Cat, Ron, and Jita JU, but you do have some, like if I recall, I think it's UL's JM as well. Is that her cross-up button on outside of Jump Light? Because every character's Jump Light is a cross-up button in Granblue. It might be JM, and I think Belial's JM crosses up too, right? Like the weird kick he does. Pretty sure they both cross up if I remember correctly. But it's been a while for me. But yeah, presumably like a JM or JH into what is one of his ultimate skills. I assume by the way it looks, this would be ultimate skill, that massive downward slash he does. Which, as we see here, this is a very viscerally hard knockdown. Like, he gets in that ass immediately for that. But don't forget, chat, in this game, or in Rising, you don't get the combo in the ultimate skills. So, like in this case, this might not even be a combo because it's hard to tell, but it looks like for a frame, Percy is back in neutral. And in all the trailers we've seen with ultimate skills used in actual combos, it was... I don't know how we got here. It was specifically... What's the word I'm looking for here? Homie, it just hates me. I apologize. It doesn't matter. Just click something. But yeah, all the ultimate skills we've seen thus far, combo-wise, come off of very big hits, like counter hit anti-airs or counter hit heavies into an ultimate skill, where there is no cancel happening, which means we're not doing it off of auto combos and stuff. You might get it in juggles, like normally in the corner, an example, or if you're doing like, let's just say a Granblue, right? Like auto combo EX boot. Maybe you'll be able to do an ultimate skill off of that wall bounce. Not sure. That is just spitballing. I have no way of knowing that because Side Games hate me and has not given me my early copy yet. Spoiler alert, they're not going to. Yeah, that's a dashing normal. They showed off dashing buttons to some degree, and we know that all dashing M's, I believe it was, are low. So this is probably the dashing M. Looks pretty far-reaching, right? Which the character looks a little sluggish comparatively to some characters in the game, which makes sense given the playstyle we're rocking with here, like these big, heavy buttons and stuff. Obviously, we can't see what the damage output looks like, but I'm going to assume, because one, it's Granblue, damaging Granblue is already a little higher if you make a mistake, but also the nature of this kit would tell me it'll be higher. Close heavy, Rekka, boom, there's another follow-up, another type. As you just saw, lads and ladettes, we have a guard point out of Rekka. So Rekka is a pure guessing game. Well, guessing game, you might be able to react to options properly, or fuzzy options. But TLDR DPing it, a big risk, don't do it. We don't know if this guard point's gonna lose to lows or overheads, as this is a mid colliding with it. But this means there are, from what we've seen, at least 3 follow-up options, a 4th if you count the one thing. So we have Rekka, it looks like it's 2 swings into stuff. So like swings into more swings, should probably be a frame trap. Swings into a command grab to catch you sleeping if you're blocking. And then swings into guard point or parry, whatever this is actually going to operate as. Which would catch you mashing if you were predicting command grab. Or DPing as shown here. Or the other one being, if they don't want to commit like that, and they think you're not going to challenge like that, it would just be the first few swings of the Rekka and then nothing. That is also, of course... Oh wait, I was going to say also assuming you don't lock into an option, but I just realized he does EX Rekka in the guard point here, and earlier did EX Rekka in the command grab, so now you decide the option after the fact. So yeah, those are the 4 options we've seen so far. There could be more stuff hidden, who knows. I assume by the fact that he's still glowing here from the EX, and how seamlessly this transitions, that this is probably an auto follow-up. Like this whole chain here, this Tim's into pseudo DP is probably an immediate follow-up that might be exclusive to the EX. It might not be, we're not sure. As we can see, his 2H, we can't really see what the 2H is going to be like, because he slaps disable very early and cancels very early into install. That's where he has an install. Which presumably from the aura and the nature of what we know about the character, this probably is going to be an install that involves his stocks. As to whether it's going to be unlimited stocks for a time, or they refill at a quick rate, or just every move is enhanced, which I guess is the same as unlimited stocks. Either way, those are all potential possibilities if it is related to stocks. We're not sure though. But as you can see, 2H anti-air counter hit, you get to do that into a combo. It makes sense. Characters like Sori's get similar things off of their counter hit interactions and all that stuff with install. Like counter hit far heavy, install as Sori's leads into a combo, an example. So where we've had this type of stuff before. But yeah, it does this 2H install into run up, what I'm assuming is the close heavy. This is one of the ones that spooked me too. Oh no, not this one, because this one's close. So close, as you can see, EX Rekka, a 3rd hit. But here's the one that bugs me, right? Or maybe they are different, just not by much. Let me go take a look, chat. No, I think they're straight up the same. But yeah, 3rd hit, as you can see, gets a follow-up. But that's the weird part, right? Like, I had a theory on this, but I don't know if it would work. But as you can see, this is a very far distance for Granblue to get what is presumably a close normal. And I had a theory, but it would only work if that big sword jab we saw was dashing heavy. And the theory was that how Lancelot only has a light or a close light, he does not have a far light. The theory was that because Sig is the opposite, he is the heavy, the Russian philosopher. Maybe this character only has close heavy, and he doesn't have a far heavy. That is complete spitball nonsense, but it is a genuine possibility of something they can do. But yeah, we have whatever this heavy is into EXDP, and here's one of the ones that really made me realize this. So like, this already is a little nutty. Like, it's probably a able hurtbox thing here, whatever. This is already weird looking though. But look at where this DP collides with his hurtbox. So I don't know if this is some deceptive hurtbox shenanigans or deceptive hitbox shenanigans, but this is, if this is hitboxes, this is terrifying. If this is hurtboxes, a little weird, but I'll get used to it. I'll get used to it either way. It's just, if that's a hitbox at that point, holy shit, dude. Like, even there, look at where the follow-up is colliding. Like, how early that's technically hitting him. Whoo! Good God, man. We'll see, though. That was the XDP, of course. Another important thing we learned here. Ultimate cheapo. Dodgeable. On reaction. With spot dodge into a punish. I love this throw, dude. Anila didn't deserve it. Like, look at this throw. He just grabs her and just socks her in the face. Like, she didn't deserve that. Homegirl, little baby girl didn't deserve this type of treatment, Siegfried. Go find someone else to bully. Go pick on Vaz or something. Like, someone your own size, please. Leave her alone. This is her first time in a trailer that isn't her own, and she's just getting mollywopped in the face, homie. She ain't deserved this. But yeah, throw looks nice. It just punches, knockdown. You know, typical throwing Granblue. Presumably that close heavy and the big fat buttons. I just remembered what this reminds me of. It hit me. So like close heavy into Raging Strike, into Raging Chain, which I was staring at this animation for like a 5-minute instance trying to make me realize what it reminded me. It just hit me. It's fucking Kagura in BBCF. Kagura has a move, very similar animation to this. And it looks very cool in CF too, so I'm happy to see it back. But the cool part about Raging Strike and what a Raging Chain that it reminded me of here, it's not quite the same because there's a ground bounce here to a degree, but it almost reminded me of how Crush Triggers work in combos in CF. Where in CF, if you are juggling someone, you Crush Trigger them, it just plants them like straight to the ground immediately. So like a common Ragna combo you'll see, if they want to burn the 25 meter to extend damage and they catch someone crouching, an example, or counter hit states or any of that, is if they 6C someone, the move where Ragna goes like low with the sword and it's a 2-hit like low mid and it launches them, you'll do that into Crush Trigger and it'll slam them back to the ground. Then you can literally do 6C, a second Crush Trigger, because in the case of CF, Crush Triggers slightly reset parations. Don't know if Raging Chains are going to do the proration resets, or if it's just going to be pure damage extension and more damage. Because there is obviously going to be a difference between just more damage and more damage with a damage proration, because that would add even more reward for doing said Raging Chain. I don't know. It looks cool. Now since I know it's the Kagura move, it gets even bonus points, because as much as I hate fighting Kagura, he's a really cool character. But as you can see, another follow-up. He does the Raging Strike in the Raging Chain into close heavy, so that juggle state is long enough for a close heavy. That is a big juggle state. We have EX Fireball, as you can see, the vertical wall of death you're looking at, which, important to note, he can EX Big Slash afterwards, which I don't know if it's going to work mid-screen or if it's just because Anila was just about at the corner here, so it didn't pull the screen away from Siegfried any further. That'll be a lab situation when we get hands-on. This is that other interaction I mentioned, though, right? Like, this is why it bugs me, right? It looks like he dashes into this, right? Like, he is dashing, and here's this button. Look how close he is. This is at a range where you would not get a far normal normally. This would be a close normal in Granblue. So, I don't know. It makes me think this is potentially far heavy, and he only has, or not far heavy, dash heavy, and he only has that close heavy. Or they're actually allowing a command normal to distinguish between far and close normals, but we will see. But yeah, as you can see, whatever this is, he does it into SSBA. There's not much to comment on. It's him literally, it's the dragon blood in him taking over. That's the whole point of this super. And then him regaining it, regaining his composure. We do get the cool shot of the character who might never be in the game, though, I'll feel bad if he's not at this point the last of the Dragon Knight's Bane. Well, I don't necessarily want himself, per se. I like him more than Lancelot, but that's not saying much because I don't like Lancelot that much. But I want a character with an axe, and there aren't that many in Granblue proper with an actual axe. Because axes in Granblue are silly, because Vaz, his scythe is defined as an axe in Granblue. But between the two, that I'd probably get it either Bane or Threo, and I would prefer Threo. But we already have 3 Eternals, or 2 Eternals, but who knows. And if I had to pick another Eternal, I would want Siete. But yeah, all in all, I think the character does look really cool, unironically. Sig is a cool subversion because as a character, he's kind of morose, just because of like the lore of what he is and what he's inspired by. Like, he's morose and stoic, but not really edgy. But Sig's animations are intentionally edgy to add to that barbaric nature I mentioned, because he is meant to be that because of the dragon's blood. I don't think I have anything else, though. This is actually somehow 10 minutes shorter than last one because I didn't have to pause as much because we already did this once technically. Just the same as last time. This is the generic part of the video, like, like, subscribe, share this with your friends, comment below, go follow my Twitch, preferably more so than anything because I stream consistently enough and I much prefer it over there. More importantly, though, is like, play fighting games, whether you want to play Granblue Fantasy Versus now, the one that's currently out. You can get the game for a lot cheaper than it was before. It was on deep sale a few months back for $2. It might deep sale again. If you just want to check out the game, see what you think of it. The only problem is I cannot promise that Rising is going to be the same product because we aren't sure exactly how all these new mechanics are going to affect the flow or pace of the game or any of that, as well as any balance changes they would make the characters on top of those mechanics. So we're not too sure how similar the products are really going to be, so even buying vanilla versus might not be a good indicator for Rising. But we don't have a release date for Rising yet outside of sometime this year. Thankfully, after Street Fighter 6, that's actually the best time to release it, because releasing pre-Street Fighter 6 is kind of a death sentence, and that comes out in like 12 hours pretty much, so yeah. You can also obviously check out the beta, because it will be an open beta from what we know. So that'll be happening in July. So that's another way to test out Rising. Or if you happen to be going to Evo, Evo is supposed to have a build of Rising to play. Beyond that, I don't recommend gacha or mobage, whichever you prefer to call it, but Granblue Fantasy is a quality product. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying, for the sake of saying it, there's a lot of quality there, a lot of things to enjoy. If you just want to watch story tidbits on YouTube or gaze at the art from afar, as the art for Granblue is gorgeous. Listen to this soundtrack. It's composed by this gentleman named Tsutomu Narita, which he's basically the protege of Nobuo Uematsu, which you might recognize as he was the composer of Final Fantasies 1 through 10, I believe, and a few others. Composed Lost Odyssey and many other products Uematsu's known for. Composed Answers in FF14, which was then arranged by Narita for 14. That's right, the most iconic song in FF14 was composed not by Soken, but by Uematsu, and then arranged by Narita. But yeah, just there's a lot to enjoy there. Also, we have Granblue Fantasy Relink coming out later this year, which is an action RPG set in the Granblue world. So there's lots of stuff for Granblue as an IP, which is good because it is quality. It is enjoyable. I don't think I have anything else though, because I'm slowly ticking up the time unintentionally. I'll try to do more videos like this as more fighting game stuff comes out. I will be playing Street Fighter 6 on stream once I get back from the trip I'm taking this weekend. I just happen to be taking a trip the weekend the game comes out, unfortunately. It is what it is. So we'll do videos with that. We'll do more breakdowns like this as more info comes out. I will play the beta. so on and so forth. I'll continue playing whatever else on stream, yada yada yada. Y'all get the point. So I don't have anything else. But I love all of you, and I'll see you all in the next video. Ciao!